My friends, let's try and infuse, as the salmon is infused with vodka and beetroot and whatever other elements, let's try and infuse the actual salmon and ourselves with a little bit of the words of Torah. We're going to be dedicating this shiur as we've dedicated the breakfast, which has been dedicated by the Samson and the Cohen families in honor and in the merits of the late Naomi Bas Yacov. Please God, her neshama should have an aliyah, and we thank them very much for this sponsorship. Let's learn a little bit of Torah in her merits, and please God in all of our merits as well. So we find in the parasha, it says, Hayoim hazeh Hashem Elokecha mitzavcha lasos es hachukim ha'eleh. It says Hashem commands us today. The word Hayoim, today, to do these commandments. Now, it's an interesting point. Why does it have to say that Hashem commands us today? It could just say Hashem commanded us. Why does it have to say today?
Every day.
So he writes like this. Listen to this powerful spiritual teaching. Ikar kedusha hu lizkor b'kol yom v'yom shezeh yom manui v'safar. He says the main access point to sanctity and the main access point to spirituality is to count the day, to enter into something called the yom. And a person needs to focus into the day entirely, which means the moment that you're sitting in, the day that you're sitting in right now, we sit here and we think to ourselves, gosh, you know what is going to be so great for my day is if I start to plan for the future, and I start to think about the future, and I start to think about all of the things of the future. But he says spirituality is not accessed in the future. It's accessed in the present, and it's accessed in the day that we're in right now.
Get it.
And he says it's prohibited. Check this prohibition. It's prohibited to push yourself from one day into another. It's prohibited to push the day. Understand this. It's an unbelievable revelation. Understand that the day that you're in now has never been and will never be again. Every day is a different day. And this is essentially why Hashem has commanded us today, if you listen to my voice, today in specific, because we get taken by everything other than the day that we're in right now. Listen to this terminology. Again, the verse says in the Torah, today, if you want to listen to my voice, and the implications of this is the following. If you want to tap into spirituality and you want to hear the voice of God, what you need to do, tzrichim atem lezaheh bezeh. You need to be very, very conscious of this. Leida heitev sheikar hu hayoim hazeh daika shatem oimdim boy. That the main way to access God is not somewhere in the future, in the elements of the world to come. It's not somewhere in the future, in the elements of where I'm heading to or what I'm going to. But it's essentially where you are right now. In the immediacy of the present and in the immediacy of the moment that you're in, to experience that moment and not push that moment or have that moment pushed away because of one's consideration of the future. Now, same tune, he says, many individuals have things that they want to achieve from a spiritual standpoint. They say, you know what? I do want to learn more Torah. You know what? I do want to develop myself into a more sensitive, loving, present human being. But you know what? Let me first make $1 million. Or you know what? Let me, after I've gone through whatever I have to go through now, then I will be able to do what I need to do. But what he's saying is that is one of the most problematic statements. The Yetzer Hara doesn't exist in the future, it exists in the present. You can tell the Yetzer Hara, you know what? Next year I'll start to learn a little bit more Torah. Next year I'll start to engage with Shabbos a shtickle more. Next year I'll be able to be a little bit more sensitive. And you know what happens when next year comes? The next year comes again as well. And essentially a person tricks themselves, or the Yetzer Hara tricks a person by saying, today, nah, don't do it. Maybe tomorrow. And you keep on pushing it off. And what we see here is the fundamental energy of Hayom. The Torah is telling us one of the most powerful revelations is the galvanizing of the day. As it says, Asher Anochim Etzav Hayom, we see this on a consistent basis. You know where we find this in? The Shema as well. That Hashem commands us Hayom. V'zeh b'chinas limnois yimenu kein hoida. Ki tzrichim levakesh al zeh me'Hashem Yisrach lechein lehasker zatzmei v'kol pam b'peh malei ki atir bo yesh lo koyach gadol lo eres ha'adam lezkiroim sheyeda heitev ki kol yemei chayim menoim v'sfurim u'tzrichim lezal lifroach choivas kol hayom esmanu. He says, you find one of the most powerful mitzvahs. It's a crazy mitzvah that we see the Jewish people have. Maybe this is where Sesame Street got it from. But we see, you have Sesame Street here? You do, yeah. So the mitzvah that we take from being able to be liberated from Egypt to come to accept the Torah, we have to train ourselves to do one particular thing. What do we train ourselves to do from the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt, to the acceptance of the Torah? What do? What mitzvah do we have that's so unique? From after Pesach to receiving the Torah at Shavuos.
The
counting on the Omer. Now, why do you think that is? Out of all the mitzvahs that Hashem could have given us, we are, but there's a unique element of counting. And what do you do with the counting? You count the day that you're in. The particular day that you're in. Hashem is again training us to count every moment in its immediacy. Every moment it's an immediacy. And as soon as you're able to galvanize the moment, that's once you've cashed it in. That's how you cash in a moment. The crazy thing is, and the rabbis bring this, that some people live their entire lives without living one day at all. Some people live their entire lives without returning and experiencing one day at all. Because there are always stresses, and we're going to learn about in the parasha, this concept of tluyim, this concept of being in this state of flux. But essentially what he's saying is the way to battle flux is to say, what's incumbent upon me now? Now, if you think about this, what is the energy of the mitzvah? The energy of the mitzvah is that I can't push it away. The energy of the mitzvah is a grounding force. Think about it. You wake up in the morning. You've got a pending mitzvah of a consistent state to say the Shema. A pending mitzvah of a consistent state to put on tefillin. And you can't tarry, because if it comes into the next day, you've missed that particular day. Now, why do you think it is that Hashem created it that way? And now if you think about it, a lot of people come along and say, you know what? I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be engaged to the state where the Torah is telling me this is something I have to do now. I don't want to do that. I want to live my life essentially a free agent. When I feel like it, I do it. When I don't feel like it, I don't do it. But you know what that does? Is it causes a person to lose the ability to galvanize that time frame and that moment. When a person says, you know what, even though my mind's in there, even though I'm thinking about so many other elements and I think I just want to go and do those things or chase those things, the mitzvah grounds you into the obligation of that moment. And it's a gift that Hashem has given us to be able to say, right now, I draw myself into that space and I don't get lost into the ether of time and into the ether of worry. Not only that, listen to this. It's not just the mitzvah that grounds us, but he says every day has a chokhmah v'seichel meyuchad. There is a particular energy of the day. You know how you have soup of the day? You have the energy of the day. So within the day, you can sensitize yourself to a particular energy that is waiting to be discovered, and a particular insight and wisdom that is waiting to be discovered. Shezeh Iker Or Hayoim Shu Hashemesh Shu Bechinas HaSeichel HaKdusha. Now he says, just like the sun shines and sort of tells us that there is a energy associated with the day, there is a chokhmah and there is a wisdom that shines in the day that is waiting for you to be able to tap into. It's no coincidence that we're sitting outside here with the sun illuminating. Kenny, you feeling illuminated by the sun?
I'm loving this.
Amazing. But understand this, my friends. See you, my friend. Understand this. Just don't forget to bench, to galvanize the energy of the day. The energy that we see of the day, David, is always premised with the energy of night. The Jewish day is Vayere Vayivoiker. First it comes night, then it comes day. Why do you think that's of significance?
Completeness. The darkness.
Why is this completeness? Ki halayla koydem niyoyim b'seder habriya k'mo shekasa v'yerev yivoiker u'b'sheirashe b'kedusha hu tikun egado ma shehoyshe koydem or. He says like this: if you want to tap into the day, you need to first go through the choshech. You need to first go through the night. It is not a simple thing to nullify yourself to the moment that you're in. It's one of the hardest things because the mind, again, likes to solve issues and likes to think of issues. And to stop that part of the self feels like you're entering into the cavemen, ages, where an individual is almost precluding their mind from planning, and they're precluding their mind from experiencing a sense of responsibility and a sense of planning. But what he says is, in order to galvanize the day, you need to go through the night. And going through the night feels initially like something that is very, very, very unnatural to you. He says it represents the state of Eider Hadas. Eider means a boundary of consciousness, a smallness of mind. You have to contend with the night first. Don't think that mindfulness and consciousness is something that you just click your fingers and now you're tapped in. It's actually saying to yourself, I first have to go through unwinding this general standpoint that I've been taught to experience or exist from, and that feels like night. V'azai miskabel chas v'shalom choshech mamish shoroitze lahachshich or hayoim legamri haina shoroitze lebalbel asadas. Now he says, you know what symbol the Jewish people have to represent this particular, or this tool to represent how to fight the night, how to fight that general nature of I need to go, I need to plan, I need to stress. Do you know what energy we've been given as the Jewish people that represents the Jewish people? Which symbol? Yeah, the way fighting the go. You know what symbol it is? The moon. The moon is at night, and it reflects an energy of the sun, which represents what we said, the day, the wisdom of the day. Now, it's a frightening thing that this recent scenario was that this week, we had a blood moon, which represents something very, very unique and is an indication that there isn't a proper reflection of the day in the night, and it's something for us to consider. But the moon, and this is why we particularly pray, not to the moon, but when the moon is revived and has a hischadshus and is a new moon, we have a particular sensitizing to that moment to teach us that when you're facing the night, i.e., you're freaking out about the future and you're overwhelmed with your mind, and you have to say to yourself, stop, You have to think of the moon. Think of the intrinsic reflection of the wisdom of the day. Shehu ora seicha v'chochma amitis emeh b'chol yoyim v'yoyim shu ikar or hayoyim v'mezeh nimshachim b'kol hamaniyos v'ikuvim v'abilbulim sheb'kol yoyim shemezeh nimshachim kol hatos sh'adam roitz lidchoi zeh hayoyim ad shalpi roiv nidmeh loy l'adam kilo ein zeh hayoyim nimneh v'nisba klal b'yimei chayav. Unbelievable. He says that what happens, gentlemen, is that a person becomes so taken by bilbul. What does the word bilbul mean? Confusion. They get so taken by confusion that they start to push away the day. They start to push away the day that they're in. They say, I can't wait till the night, or I can't wait till I go on holidays. You ever said that to yourself? I can't wait till I go on holidays. What does that essentially mean? I could literally press a button and I would want to go through all of these days on fast forward so I don't have to experience them in their core. And then I can start to live. That is one of the biggest farces and the biggest destructions of spiritual energy. As a person can come to a scenario where they're not even living in their day. Now, he says, and we're going to come to a conclusion here. What is one of the biggest ways to start off our day? Tefillin and tefillah. To pray and to put on tefillin. Now he says, this is one of the hardest things to do. Because if you think about it, the first thing you want to do in your day is get the day going. You want to go. You don't want to tarry. You want to start working. You want to start solving. You want to start planning. He says, no. The way to counter that energy so you can galvanize the day is by engaging especially with prayer. ובוודא יש בו טוב, יש בו חוכמה, ושכל מיוחד לקדושה, שצריך להמשיך בזה, היום דקה רש"י הוישך מכסה עליו, כי הקליפה קדמה לפרי. He says, this is essentially the space. What are you doing when you're davening? You're sensitizing yourself to the wisdom that's implicit in the day. And he says the same thing you find with fruit. Fruit has a peel, and then you can access the fruit. So he says, if you want to access the fruit of the day, you have to peel it first. When is the time of peeling? Shachris. That is the time of peeling. וזה בחינס המניע והבלבולים שמזרם משטרוס ביום וצריך אדם נזרם ושד ונשב מלכים בקודם ולפריבי לידה אמין להיקר וזה היום ככל יזכר ולהשם יזרח לפי בחינוסי ואם תדרשני ימצא ואז יזכר למצוא הטוב שבזה היום דייקם זה בחינס מה שמובא בזוהר ליס יום דליס בית טוב וכל יום איס לגדר מלבר דלא יעל כל בר נשל טוב וכהן שייכה סוכה לנהירה בזה נמשך כל הטוס ונדחייס שכל האדם שבכל יום נדמה לו כאילו היום הזה אינו כלום, כאילו אינו מימי חייו. Now, to conclude this, he says one of the biggest reasons why we struggle to utilize the day is because we don't think that there is anything important in the day. Stress and anxiety. And, I say this often when it comes to ADD. Inability to be present doesn't come from ADD, doesn't come from anxiety and fear and stress. You know what it comes from? Lack of purpose and lack of thinking that there's anything present in front of you. When a person feels bored, what are they essentially saying? Nah, I need to go to the next moment because this moment is not good enough for me. I need to go to the next moment because I can't find anything here right now. And if there's no next moment, you know what they start to do? They start to stress about the future because that at least gives them some sense of purpose. They found a study. They put a few individuals in a room and they put them up onto these electrocution pads. And they had an option. either sit and be bored or electrocute yourself. They found that the majority of the individuals started electrocuting themselves with small electrocutions to be able to remove the boredom that they were experiencing. They found that the boredom was more painful than the electrocution. Why? Because we don't understand how to galvanize the energy that's implicit in the day. That simply in the moment a person can breathe in and experience a wisdom of that particular moment. Especially when you have things to hone into that you think are problematic, that really starts to confuse you and take you out of the day. So my dear friends, this is essentially the work that we are given, and we find in the Shema and we find in the Parsha of galvanizing the Yom. This is essentially the purpose of Judaism, to create presence, to create connection, to create consciousness. And with this, please God, with all of these messages and teachings, we should be able to galvanize our lives, please God, in the merit of Naomi Bas Yacov.
Thank you so much for